Hey leaders, for those of you who weren't able to make it to our kickoff last week, I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you. And first of all, it was just a really encouraging time just to be together, to have dinner together with our teams, to do something kind of normal. And so we missed you, but grateful for your desire to serve and looking forward to what God's going to do this year with our groups. One of the things that I shared with everybody was just that I know personally I felt like I just want things to go back to normal. I just want things to be the way that they used to be when we didn't have to think about masks and social distancing and all these things that 2020 has brought us. And so an illustration that has been really helpful to me and pointed me to the truth and the promises of God has been something that happened a couple of centuries ago. Lewis and Clark were sent out on an expedition of the Louisiana Purchase, and they were supposed to find a passageway to the Pacific Ocean. And the East Coast, there are some mountains, the Smoky Mountains, which are big hills really. And so they just kind of considered the West is going to be a lot like the East. And so they were going along in their canoes. It took 15 months to get up the Missouri River to the source. And they're climbing to the source of the Missouri River. And they expect that on the other side, things are going to be a lot easier as far as like they're just going to be able to get in their canoes and coast down into the Pacific Ocean. And what do they find but the Rocky Mountains? And I know that that would not be a fun sight at first, to think all this way that we have come and all that we have endured and done, and yet it just is going to get harder. And yet, I think about one of my favorite places on this earth is the Rocky Mountains. And it is the glory of God that is on display in those mountains, just the majesty and the beauty. And it's just an amazing place to be. And yet, to have to go through that is not always a fun task. And so the thing that I wanted us to be thinking about is, this is not how we would like it to be. We look forward to things getting back to normal, whatever that might look like at some day. But for now, this is what God has for us. And we can rest assured that He has good and glorious things for us to experience and to see as we go through this. We don't know what it's going to look like necessarily, but for us to put the things behind us, not wish that things were that they were the way that they were, but we could look ahead to what God has in store for us, and because we trust Him and we trust that He is a good God and that He does new things. Isaiah 43 has been super helpful to me. Just there's so much in there to read. I encourage you to go through that. That is encouraging. But a couple of verses in particular. Verse 18, remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. How good to remember our God and what He can do. And so while we are uncomfortable with many of the things that we have to process and the conversations we might have to have and the things that we have to think through, and yet God is doing new things. And so let us look forward to those new things and be full of hope and joy in the process. All right, God bless you, and look forward to seeing what those things are.